Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another episode of SoCal Watch Reviews. My name is Miguel. If you're new here, welcome. I hope you enjoy this video. I've been doing things a little bit different lately in being in front of the camera as opposed to behind the camera narrating things. I find that it is a little bit easier to just kind of freestyle these reviews. I will give you all the specifics about the watch. So I hope you enjoy it. And before I forget, please comment, like, and please subscribe. It really does help the channel. Today we are actually going to be talking about this watch, the watch on my wrist. This is the Spinnaker Fleuss. Now Fleuss is because of Henry Fleuss. He actually was the inventor of the scuba, so very cool of Spinnaker to give Mr. Henry Fleuss kind of a nod there, right, for what he did. But anyway, this watch is, it punches above its weight. It's a little bit more than what I expected, and I am really happy to have it in the collection and be able to review it. So let me go into the specs before we talk about everything else. This watch does come in at 43 millimeters. It has a lug-to-lug measurement of 51 millimeters, has a thickness of 13 millimeters. It weighs in at 190 grams with the supplied bracelet that we have it on. So overall, the case finishing on this is actually better than I expected. We have some brushing on the sides and on the top and along the sides to the edges around the chamfering. We have a lot of polished surfaces, but not enough to overpower the watch or make it look super blingy. It really does have this tool watch look to it, and the brushing is actually executed very, very nicely. Now, speaking of what sits on top of the case is that beautiful bezel. It's a 120 click unidirectional bezel that has this really cool effect to it, right? There's 50 fathoms, if you will, effect to it. As a matter of fact, the whole watch looks like a 50 fathoms. But one of the cool things about this bezel is that it does have an acrylic dome to it. I thought it was sapphire, but after doing a little bit of research, it actually is acrylic, and it has lume in it. And we do find just some numbers, 15, 30, and 45. So just looks very, very vintage. Now, protecting the dial on this guy is a sapphire crystal that has anti-reflective coating. Very nice. It has a blue hue to it, and some people like it, some people don't. I like it. I don't really mind the blue AR coating. Now, speaking of the dial, that probably for me is the star of the show. It has this really cool texture to it, almost like cement like, right? And at the 12 o'clock we find the word Spinnaker, at the 6 o'clock automatic, and then some information about the water resistance, right? And for the water resistance is 150 meters. Around the dial we do have some Arabic numbers of 12, 6, and 9, and aside from that, the applied indices, and then some printed minute markings around the dial. And at the right we do find a date window that's been outlined with a little white line. It's really cool. I mean, it really catches the attention. But one of the cool things about the date window is that they actually match the dial, so it's black with white numbers. And I gotta say, this dial, the first thing that really impressed me about this watch was the dial. So if the more you look at it, especially under a macro, it really pops. And another surprising feature about this watch is the Swiss C5 Super Luminova that's been applied on the dial. It's been applied, of course, on the hands, the indices, around the dial, and on the bezel, and it really shines. It glows like a torch. I kid you not. This is probably by far one of the top contenders against my SoCal watches, believe it or not. And when looking at the lume also, I cannot forget to mention those hands. Those hands do have plenty of lume, but the brushing on them, when you look closely, looks beautiful, and they executed it well. Now, to help with the 150 meters of water resistance, we do find a crown at the 3 o'clock. That's a screw down crown, and it's been signed. It's pretty easy to grip and pretty easy to just engage overall and play with it. Now, when we turn the watch over, we are greeted with a display case back. And the display case back has some information about the watch. And I know this is kind of a touchy subject for some people, right? Talking about a display case back on a diver watch. Some people are even saying that this watch cannot obtain the 200 meter water resistance because of the display case back, and it only offers 150 meters. I don't know if that's true or not true, because I've seen some watches with high water resistance and still offer a display case back. Nonetheless, it's pretty cool, and of course we are greeted with the NH movement. In this case, is an NH 36 movement that you can hack, that you can wind. It's reliable. A lot of micro brands use it, and there's a good reason why they keep using it, because it's a reliable movement. It's a tried and true tested movement by SoCal, and I love my NH movements. I've had zero negative things happen to them, and it's all positive. Sure, they're not great timekeepers, they're not cost certified, I'm sorry, but they work. Now, speaking of the bracelet, it has a very nice bracelet. We do find a mixture of mostly brush, but we do find a little bit of polishing. And to size this bracelet, it does have a pin system. I would have preferred screws, but it's okay. Now, one of the cool things about this bracelet, not only is it solid links and solid end links, but in the middle of the bracelet you have these raised little pieces that are actually give it this 3D effect. I don't know how to explain it, but I really like it. And if I was going to recommend a Fleuss to anybody, I would really recommend this one on the bracelet as opposed to the strap one, because there's plenty of good aftermarket straps on the market, but this is actually a very well executed bracelet that goes from 22 millimeters, it goes down to 20 and then up to 22 on the clasp. Speaking of the clasp, is very easy to engage, easy to open. It has a milled clasp, has a double deploying security system button right there, and as you can see, it has been signed with the Spinnaker logo. And overall, it feels like a really good bracelet. It does not feature quick release, so you do need a tool to remove this. And now, speaking back of the movement, just one thing I want to mention is that the rotor, they actually decorated it, and that's not something that you find very often with NH movements, company decorating the rotor, but they definitely did. So overall thoughts on this watch. Well, let me tell you how I feel about this watch. Overall, I think is an awesome watch. I really do recommend it, especially for the price. However, the 51 millimeter lug to lug distance makes it a little bit big, especially for me. I have a 6 and 7/8 inch wrist, so for me, I would have preferred something a little bit smaller. I wish they would kind of, maybe 48, 49 would kind of be a sweet spot for me. Also, I would have liked to see at least 200 meters of water resistance on a dive watch, because it just gives me that comfort of knowing that I could take it to the pool or to the sea or whatever, and it would actually perform very well. Also, another thing that kind of bothered me after I did a little bit of my research is the bezel. I seriously thought it was sapphire, but it turns out it's acrylic. So now I'm going to be scared of scratching the bezel, especially because it's kind of sitting above, at level with the crystals, so it's very easy to scratch, and it kind of, I'm a little weird about scratches. Also, one last thing is the actual color of the numbers, the indices, and the markings on the bezel. As you can see, they are green. They're very green. And when you go outside and you're in the sunlight, it just really glows in the day, and it kind of stands out. I would have preferred something a little bit more subtle, maybe like a white, or if you're going to do green, maybe like a faux patina, but not green, like a fluorescent green. Aside from that, I think the packaging, I think the overall design aesthetic, it fits very well for the price. I think you're getting a fantastic product, and of course this does resemble the 50 fathoms. I'm not a fan of homage watches, but I've said it before, if you take a little bit of inspiration from a watch but it doesn't look exactly like that other watch, I'm okay with it. And one of the things that I did, and you probably saw throughout the b-roll, is I paired it with an Artham sailcloth strap, and Obviously, when you put it on a cell cloth strap, it really does resemble that 50 fathoms. But anyway, thumbs up for this watch. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, please comment, like, subscribe. My name is Miguel, and as always, my friends, stay humble.